Hey guys, what's going on? James here, and in this video today, we're going to be talking about all of the matchups that we all should be keeping an eye on for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Week 14 matchup versus the Minnesota Vikings. This is a game I've actually been looking forward to all season. It was one of my most anticipated games of the year. Shout out to you, Danny, if you watched this video, but let's not waste any time. Let's get into some of the matchups that we all need to keep an eye on. The first matchup that I'm going to be looking out for, and arguably might be the most important one, is going to be Dalvin Cook versus the Bucs run defense. Now, we have seen multiple points this season and the past couple of seasons as well, is that the Buccaneers run defense can hold against some of the top best, if not the top best running backs in the entire league. Christian McCaffrey, Todd Gurley, Alvin Kamara, among others, their worst games usually come against this Buccaneers front seven. But Dalvin Cook is a running back the Buccaneers have not faced in a long time, if ever. So that is going to be really interesting. In my opinion, Dalvin Cook is probably either the 1B or number 2 best running back in the entire NFL, besides probably Christian McCaffrey when Christian McCaffrey is fully healthy. I mean, Dalvin Cook is phenomenal. Him paired up with Gary Kubiak's scheme in Minnesota is literally perfect. You could not have a more perfect combination between a coach and a player. And he is right now, with the absence of Christian McCaffrey, with all the injuries he's been dealing with this year, he's the top guy in the league. So how is he going to do against this Buccaneers front seven? We will have to wait and see. This is probably the toughest test the Buccaneers run defense is going to face all year, because Dalvin Cook is no joke. He is a great runner. He is a great receiver as well. He can do it all. So let's see how the Buccaneers front seven does against who is arguably the best running back in the entire NFL. The next matchup I'm going to be paying attention to is going to be Vikings wide receivers Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson versus the Buccaneers cornerbacks. Now, I don't know the availability of Jamel Dean right now. I'm pretty sure he's going to be playing in this upcoming game, so we can assume Carlton Davis and Jamel Dean are going to be the two main guys going up against Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson. If I had to give a guess on who's going to be matching up against who, I would say Carlton Davis on Adam Thielen and definitely Jamel Dean on Justin Jefferson, as Justin Jefferson is the speedster of the two. Adam Thielen's more the big-bodied wide receiver of the two. And I've seen a lot of people get critical on Carlton Davis due to his performance last week versus Tyreek Hill. I don't agree with that at all. Any cornerback in the NFL can get burned by Tyreek Hill. It's happened time and time again. And whenever you did not give Carlton Davis the help that he needed in that game, yeah, things that were not good were going to happen. So I think that Carlton Davis will rebound in this game 100%, and I definitely feel like him versus Adam Thielen is definitely more of a matchup suited for Carlton Davis, rather than Carlton Davis going up against an absolute speed demon in Tyreek Hill. Adam Thielen versus Carlton Davis should be a great matchup, and I think Carlton Davis will bounce back seamlessly from the game he had against Kansas City. Jamel Dean did not play versus Kansas City, but he's going to be going up against a very strong candidate for Offensive Rookie of the Year in Justin Jefferson, who's already eclipsed 1,000 yards on the season. He is one of the best younger wide receivers in the NFL right now. He's great. He basically seamlessly replaced Stephon Diggs in that offense, and the combination of Cook, Thielen, and Jefferson has made this Vikings offense still very potent for quarterback Kirk Cousins, who we will be talking about throughout this week. So definitely pay attention to this matchup. How will Carlton Davis bounce back from that Kansas City game? How will Jamel Dean bounce back coming off of missing a game due to concussion problems against this very formidable wide receiver duo? The next matchup I'm going to be watching is the opposite. It's going to be the Buccaneers wide receivers versus the Minnesota Vikings cornerbacks. Now, the Minnesota Vikings are a pretty decent team, okay? I'm not afraid to say that. I know some people think that I talk too positively about the upcoming opponents. That's because I want to give you guys a fair assessment of what the Buccaneers are going to be playing against. But the one and arguably the biggest, by far, flaw in this Minnesota Vikings team is their cornerbacks. A lot of young guys in there, led by, I believe, Mike Hughes, former first-round draft pick. They've lost a lot of guys. Xavier Rhodes, Mackenzie Alexander, among a couple of other guys who were in my opinion, solid starting quality cornerbacks. They're now gone, and they've been replaced by a handful of rookies who have had very up and down results throughout the year. And they're going to be going up against arguably the toughest trio of wide receivers that they have played to date. That being Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Antonio Brown. And let's even throw Scotty Miller in there as well. This is going to be a tough matchup for the Minnesota Vikings cornerbacks, and I definitely expect the Buccaneers wide receivers to take full advantage of this glaring weakness in the Vikings defense. I expect a big day for arguably all three of the wide receivers, depending on how things go. Obviously, you want to knock on wood and not count anything out on anything, but I expect the Bucs wide receivers to do very good in this game because this is probably one of these softer secondary groups they've had to go up against this year besides, probably the Carolina Panthers. So let's see how Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Antonio Brown can do. I think Mike Evans, I saw a thing, he's like 387 yards away from hitting 1,000 yards on the season, which means he'd almost have to have 100 yards per game to hit that record. I don't know if it's going to happen, but we'll have to wait and see. Mike Evans can come out with 150 yards at any point in any game. So fingers crossed he does it because I want the streak to stay alive. It's like The Undertaker. But the fourth matchup that I'm going to be paying attention to is yet another kind of reverse to the one I talked about for the Minnesota Vikings. It's going to be Ronald Jones versus the Vikings front seven. And they've lost a lot of pieces on that Vikings front seven in a lot of different ways. Now, they did bring back Anthony Barr. They still have Michael Kendricks, I believe, middle linebacker, who's a really solid, underrated. It might be Eric Kendricks. Eric Kendricks, the middle linebacker, who's very underrated. Michael Kendricks plays for the Seahawks, I believe. But Eric Kendricks, the linebacker for the Vikings, I feel is a very underrated linebacker. Anthony Barr, I feel, can do some good things as well. But along that defensive line, they've lost a lot of talent. And I expect Ronald Jones to come in and continue to improve on what has already been a phenomenal season so far this year for him. If they gave him the ball more, he'd probably be arguably number 3 or number 2 in rushing yards right now. He's already number 4, and he has significantly less carries than the other running backs ahead of him, including Dalvin Cook. So I'm sure if he was getting as many carries as, say, a Dalvin Cook or maybe an Ezekiel Elliott, he'd already have 1,000 yards by now. I would have no doubt about that in my mind. So let's hope Ronald Jones can crack 100 yards. Let's hope Ronald Jones can continue to show why he deserves to be a full-time starting running back, bell cow back, whatever you want to call it. Give Ronald Jones the ball more, please, Byron Leftwich and Bruce Arians. I beg of you, because the man can run with the football. Now, receiving, we still need to work on that, but the guy can run when he's got the football in his hands, and I've been so freaking proud of the success that Ronald Jones has had throughout this season. I absolutely love the guy. So, Ronald Jones versus this Vikings front seven that's lost a handful of talent. Let's see how he does. I have some high hopes for him. But finally, guys, the last matchup that I want to talk about is going to be the Buccaneers coaching staff versus the Minnesota Vikings coaching staff. And there's been a lot of criticism thrown towards the way of Bruce Arians and Byron Leftwich and things like that. Now, there was a couple of weeks there where I was really hot on Byron Leftwich and, a little bit of Bruce Arians as well for decision makings, and Todd Bowles as well can be thrown in there, and all these different types of things. And I've cooled down a little bit. Cooler heads have prevailed in saying, hey, at the end of the day, the Bucs are 7-5. Yes, they could be doing a lot better, but things could certainly be a lot worse. And I do agree with that sentiment. I do agree with that opinion that, yes, things could be better, but things could be a lot worse. Tom Brady's having a great year still, 28 touchdowns to 11 interceptions. I know people have been very critical of Tom Brady, but overall, guys, things are going pretty decent. But the point is that this is going to be a critical game for the Buccaneers' playoff chances. If they fall to 7-6, that's not going to be a fun one. That's a tough one to swallow right there. If they win, move to 8-5, I feel a lot more comfortable going into these final 3 games. But if they lose, drop to 7-6, going into those last 3 games, I mean, you're gritting your teeth, you're crossing your fingers, and you're hoping the Bucs can go 2-1 at least, finish with a 9-7 record. So I would say every single game left in this schedule is a winnable game. And it's up to this coaching staff to come into games with plans ready to go, not have to make all these halftime adjustments. And I know people have said, oh, why weren't you critical of the coaching staff last year? Well, it wasn't as glaring of an issue the past couple of years. But this year it has been a little bit of a glaring of an issue of this team definitely needs to start the game with better game plans rather than just say, okay, here we go, feeling out process. Okay, it's halftime. Let's make the adjustments we need to make. Okay, now let's go. That needs to change. So Fingers crossed that they can start this during the Minnesota Vikings game. They had a whole bye week to figure out some things on improvements that can be made both on defense and on offense to start off games better. Let's hope it works starting against Minnesota. But guys, that's going to be it for this video. Let me know your thoughts about everything that I mentioned down in the comment section below. What other matchups are you guys going to be keeping an eye on during this Week 14 matchup? But anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. Now, I'll see you in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs!